Okay, it's real simple. Just get in there, deploy the F-bomb, and then get out. Easy peasy. Mr. Goodbot, what are you doing? No, I'm just seeing things again. I have to do this quick. All right. Okay, here we go.
Oh! Jumping expletives. Look who it is. The fourth winner of Who Cares Anymore.
Go away, hallucination!
Got it.
You are real.
Why would we resort to that twist? But I see what's happening. You have the visions. I remember when I first got mine. That was the day everything changed.
You had them too?
Why else would I wear this outfit? We both had visions of the ideal supervillain, but unlike you, I embraced the vision and became it.
Why do we have to have so much in common? Unless... Oh no. Oh no. Oh no! You or me from another dimension.
Yes, at long last, you finally figured it out.
Yeah, it seemed kind of obvious after thinking about it for a little bit.
So, no shock?
Well, you're clearly not a clone, because Doomsvince already did that. And it's obviously not a result of time travel, because that would get way too convoluted too fast. So that leaves only one possibility left. Alternate dimension.
We are too smart. But you're probably still clamoring to know why I turned out this way.
No, not really. I just came for this.
The F-bomb? You really want to throw this opportunity away, huh? Breaking the #1 rule of this channel.
I don't need your input, even if it's technically my input.
Is it because you didn't connect with the others like you were so hoping?
I did.
Not as much as you thought. No matter how much admiration you get, there will still be that void that we try so hard to fill every day.
Shut up. Shut up!
So I guess it didn't matter if you won this contest. You were still gonna turn into me eventually.
No, you're wrong. I'm triggering the F-bomb because it's the villainous thing to do.
Then prove it.
I will.
Initiating the F-bomb protocol in 5, 4, 3, 2...
What happened?
Initiation cancelled. Initiating disciplinary actions.
Oh no!
The guppy took the bait. And now, we wait! You have done it now.
What?
We are on trial for your insubordination, and the judge is about to make his grand entrance.
Uh-oh. Is it...
Yes, it is the head of the channel, Captain James Tiberius Logan.
Captain Logan, it's been a while. How's the family? Listen. I know this is bad. I've already said the D word and the S word, and now this. But I mean, what were you expecting when you hired a supervillain? I mean, really? No, please don't banish me. Not yet. Okay, not yet. Give me a chance to finish this mini-series, please. Oh, okay, how about a compromise? Yes, compromise. We already started the episode. It's this far in, okay? We can't just stop it now. There's all this space left. So at least let us finish it.
Fine! Court is adjourned!
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you, you beautiful man.
Since this is the end of our world, perhaps the final subject should be a franchise that pertains to such predicaments.
Yeah, I get the drill.
When it comes to a good old-fashioned post-apocalypse scenario, no depiction is as quintessential as the one in Mad Max. Don't get me wrong, the inclusion of robots and monkey men and zombies and teen angst is all fine and dandy, but this is at its most basic form, and it's probably the most likely of all the scenarios. But we're not just thrusted into this post-apocalypse, it's a slow burn. Each movie shows us a different stage of society after the man-made Armageddon. Yes, I know that technique has been improved upon, but it's more impressive when you just wing it as you go along. So for each chapter, there's a villain who takes advantage of their current state of humanity.
Where's Mr. Goodhop? He's usually the one who gives the spoiler warning.
He vacated the area, knowing that we would be banished eventually.
So, where is he now?
He has a new life.
Look, hurry up. Those issues of Red Knight aren't going to get ghost written themselves. So, chop with the writing. And I don't want to hear, oh, I got an exclusive DC Comics contract. We all have exclusive DC Comics contracts. So just get working, alright?
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Don't give me the whip. In the first Mad Max, we're so early in the apocalypse that it doesn't even seem that different from the present day of 1979 Australia. It's clarified that this is indeed the future, but only slightly. The difference seems to be crime becoming far worse. The cops seem to be allowed to take more risks, and the legal system is so corrupt that rapists and murderers can easily walk off scot-free.
This is getting too real. I am a talking robot, for God's sake.
So in a small secluded town, a gang of bikers would be more of a legitimate threat, as opposed to the normal conditions where they're just a bunch of old guys having fun before they die. When the gang rolls into Max's town, we get a sense of how energetic and fun-loving they are. Usually, when we think of man-children, we think of the sad, pathetic losers who really need to rethink their life choices, but we don't realize how terrifying that concept really is. That lack of discipline with the notion that you can do whatever you want with no consequences and zero empathy for whoever you harm. Now imagine that mentality in a full-grown man. He's capable of ruining your life just because he feels like it and the legal system lets him. But there are a few cops who still care. One of them is Max, who took out one of the gang members, leading the gang to the town in the first place. Knight Rider is the first gang member we see, so he gives us a sense of what the whole gang is like. At first, he's amused and overjoyed with all of the destruction, but once he's cornered by Max, he whimpers like a sad baby right before his death. Of course, the leader would have to be more mature than his gang of man-children, even with a name like Toe Cutter, so he treats them as such, but doesn't stop there. He speaks to every person as if they're a delicate flower that he's just about to immediately crush the moment things don't go his way. But even he has that man-baby tendency. He refuses to take anyone seriously, and he takes every insult personally. The least childish is actually his stoic right-hand man, Bubba. Ironic, I know, because of his name, Bubba. And once Toe Cutter sees something he wants, nothing else matters until he gets it. Halfway through the movie, it switches from an action drama to a psychological thriller about trying to escape a stalking sociopath. It's during this sequence when we're reminded of the more traditional man-child, contrasting with the scarier ones. So as soon as Toe Cutter finally does get what he wants, by stripping Max of every person he loves, his wife, his dog, his son, his dog, his partner, and his dog, the genre switches again, but this time to a revenge flick, killing every single gang member, including Bubba. So you assume that the final death is saved for Toe Cutter, but that's not the case. Not to say his death still isn't satisfying. Society is still intact at the moment, so there would still be semi-trucks on the highway, and during a chase, Max manipulates Toe Cutter into running headfirst in full collision with a semi. The truck is unscathed, but not Toe Cutter, though I wish the franchise would have kept the trademark villain's eyes literally popping out of their skull the moment they die. So if he's not the last to get killed, then who is? Well, it's the young rookie biker aptly named Johnny the Boy. He's the one who killed Max's partner, but he was forced to do it. This leaves Max in a moral quandary of what to do with him. He's more innocent than the rest of the gang, but was still eagerly involved with all the other horrible crimes. So Max decides that instead of killing him, he'll leave Johnny in a situation that could be survived, but the chances are very, very slim. This shows that Max has not fully gone off the deep end. Instead of becoming one of them, Max reverts into an aimless drifter, wandering the deserts for the next 3 movies. We finally get some insight on this future at the beginning of the second film, Road Warrior. Nuclear warfare finally happened, and the first film took place right after. So that was when society was just tipping towards the edge of full-on dystopia. But now that we're in the second film, the fall has already happened, and every last increment of the modern world has been vanquished. There's nowhere to live, so you might as well keep going forward, with no end in sight. So the most precious of commodities is the gasoline, which makes it our MacGuffin. That is what sets this group of villains apart from the last one. They have a goal, and are not in it just for the LOLs. A community with a gasoline supply has been cornered by an army who, might I add, are responsible for the iconography of the series. These are the outfits that pop culture always goes back to when depicting the apocalypse. Surprisingly, most of that comes from the henchmen, not the leader, Lord Humungous.
You know, this is why villains should probably not name themselves. It's not really a department they're that creative in. Hey, shut up!
Come to think of it, Humungous is overall a lackluster villain. His voice sounds like a Muppet, and his design is very derivative of Jason Voorhees. If Jason decided to take up S&M. And before you tell me, yes, I know every villain looks like a gimp. I'm already in enough hot water as it is, but it doesn't seem to matter now if I bring up gimps on this channel. I believe the superior villain is the second in command. Yes, you could say that was the same case with the last movie, but in that film, the boss had more presence than the right-hand man, whereas here, it's the other way around. No wonder this actor got to play another post-apocalyptic villain on a Power Rangers show. Wes is the one who wears the iconic dystopian outfit, complete with the mohawk and the giant shoulder pads. He even has more of a clear motivation. At first, all he wants is the gasoline, but now he wants revenge for the death of his significant other. Yes, I know that was a dude. My observation still stands. Though Humungous may have a little bit of character to him, we get some hints to his past as he references a couple of losses he had during the apocalypse. But he still could have been a little bit more interesting if the writers went with the original plan. Remember when I said Max lost his partner in the first movie? Well, his name was Goose, and he suffered a full body burning, but we never actually saw him die. This left the chance for him to return as an enemy. They could have gone the whole Winter Soldier route. But this is definitely not Goose. Only his head is deformed, unless they still have skin grafts in the post-apocalypse. But he still does not compare to Wes. So it's only fair that Wes receives a death just as extravagant, if not more, than Humungous's death. And that's basically what we get. Max repeats his old move, forcing Humungous into a situation where he must collide with a large truck. this time driven by Max. But another change is that Wes is a living hood ornament on that truck, after letting his revenge-fueled tirade get the best of him. So now both villains get what's coming to them. Each other. Now it's at this point where the handling of the villains gets a little bit formulaic. But don't worry, the pattern stops here, at the Thunderdome. Beyond the Thunderdome. New communities aren't the only things sprouting back up again, so are full-blown businesses. This one is Bartertown, and the woman running it is not loving enough to be the town's mother, so she's their aunt, Auntie Entity.
Yes, you are an entity. And I'm an entity. And everyone's an entity. What is your point? These villain names.
But she only runs half of the town. The other half is ran by Master Blaster, the epitome of brains meeting bronze. Because that's literally what's going on here. One tiny smart man on top of one large dumb man. Master Blaster. So the question arises, which one is the villain? They each lead their respective halves of the city, while at the same time they feud over who gets most power. Usually this means that one is in the right while the other is not, but it really seems like there's no actual villain here. Master actually cares about Blaster, who turns out to be an innocent man baby. I thought we were done with that theme. But Master is unreasonable when it comes to taking credit for running the whole town. Meanwhile, Auntie seems to be even more corrupt, using Max as a pawn in an elaborate scheme to kill Blaster and then backstab Max, turning the whole town against him. So that naturally makes her the antagonist, but not necessarily the villain. She legitimately wants what's best for the town, establishing order and chivalry in a world where most of it was wiped away. That's the whole point of inventing the battle arena known as the Thunderdome. Any conflict or disagreement is taken here, where it ends with one victor and one death. So that way the squabble is immediately put to rest, instead of escalating bigger and bigger until it becomes another full-blown war. Auntie could have been the honorable one and put herself in the Thunderdome against Blaster, but no. Instead, she ensures her own safety by conning Max into doing it for her, and then banishing him for not finishing the deed. But why do I still not consider Auntie as the villain? Well, Max hasn't been exactly much of a hero either. Ever since he was broken down in the first film, every good deed was out of pure reluctance. And in this case, he's forced by a tribe of kids to help find the Promised Land. But to do this, they would need the resources of Master. So Max destroys a majority of Bartertown while rescuing him. Max may have his reasons for screwing over Auntie, but he didn't have to screw over the whole town. So you would think that once Auntie's army finally got a hold of Max, she would joyfully kill him in whatever bombastic way she saw fit. But she doesn't. Instead, she laughs it off, declares the two of them as a pair, and happily drives away with her entourage. Now, this could be interpreted in a few different ways. Did she spare him out of pity? After all the effort to escape to Sydney, he doesn't even get to join the trek. But this is a series staple. Max never gets to join in on the group's journey to prosperity, because the group's story has concluded. They got what they wanted, so in order for the Mad Max saga to continue, he has to keep traveling as a loner. My personal theory on why Auntie spared him, despite all the damages, is that she sees him as an equal. Both of them are looking for some chivalry left in this wasteland, but both are willing to get it in an immoral way. And despite killing Blaster, Auntie still wants this world to get better. And the civil thing to do is to let Max live, just as he tried to let Blaster live. Or maybe it's just that she's enamored by how he manages to keep getting back up. It's like a Joker-Batman relationship. But this means we don't get the signature car crash that kills the big bad. We do get an equivalent with Auntie's head henchman, Iron Bar, but unlike the other number 2s who either are on par or surpass the number 1s, Iron Bar feels like a cartoonish buffoon. The crash isn't even satisfying because he survives it, or has enough life left in him to give Max the birdie. So after the subversive use of the villain, the only thing that would justify a return to formula would be a very long hiatus. Long enough to justify the formulaicness as a nostalgia trip. And that is why we got Fury Road. We start off with Max having brief glimpses of his tragic past, but it doesn't really match with what we saw before. This makes it evident that much like 2008's Incredible Hulk or 2010's Alice in Wonderland, this is a sequel to a remake that does not exist. But for all intensive purposes, the order of events regarding the apocalypse is still intact. And we're still witnessing the change in humanity after the war. First we had the biker gang of hoodlums, then we had the militaristic army, and then a whole organization of swindlers. So how do you warp society even further? How about a full-blown monarchy? A monarchy that uses a dead religion to convince all its citizens that what their king is doing is perfectly acceptable. Whether it be using living human beings as blood bags, or raising murderous soldiers from infancy, or treating women literally like cows, or treating women literally like breeding dogs, so he can make the perfect specimen to continue his bloodline. So who is this embodiment of the possible real-life future that we all hope won't happen? Immortan Joe.
See, now that right there is not too shabby of a villain name. I'm just complimenting the name, okay, not his morality.
Joe is the most recent in a long line of villains who utilize the scary breathing mask. This device should signify that the character is weak, but for some reason it always manages to make the bad guy more intimidating. It's like a scar, or a missing limb, or a... you get the deal. It shows that they've been through hell and back, and the fact that it doesn't seem to faze them in the slightest is a testament to their toughness or lack of humanity. To make it literal that they're not all there. A lot of the time, the mask resembles a skull, but it's always subtle enough to assume that it's coincidental. With Immortan Joe, however, it's blatantly intentional. Vader was also like that to a degree, but he covered up his scars. Meanwhile, Joe is letting it all hang out loose in the open. He'll wear transparent armor if it means another chance to show off his full body deformities. So this gives off the impression that Joe is in control of everything. But as with every monarchy, not everyone sees Joe as a prophet, and I'm not just talking about the rebels or the escapees or the peasants who hate his guts. There are those who only see him as a manager, because they just focus on the business side of things. Joe's kingdom is just one of 3 different factions that take care of all the supplies of this land. Joe is in charge of the water and mother's milk. Meanwhile, the bullet farmer is in charge of the weapons. And then there is the People Eater, who is in charge of, no, not Soylent Green, car fuel. We still remember the second movie. So these guys are not even remotely as enthusiastic as all of the hyper fanboys. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean war boys. To them, the escapees are merely a lost cause, and the expenses of chasing them are becoming bigger and bigger. The People Eater even keeps track of how costly the pursuit really is from a financial standpoint. This continues the theme of thriving businesses in the post-apocalypse. But the only thing Joe lives and breathes for is knowing that his bloodline is perfect, and his giant hulking son isn't enough. So when he apprehends his property, his words not mine, he's distraught to find out his perfect specimen of a son is dead, not even caring in the slightest about who else just died. Enraged by what could have been, he carelessly gets himself and all 3 factions destroyed in the process of pursuing the survivors. That's the thing that these villains always seem to overlook. No matter how intimidating the breathing mask is, it can easily be used as your downfall. Whether it be by electrocution, or dismantling, or ripping the whole thing off your face, thereby ripping everything else off your face. No, it's not a car collision, but it is the use of a car that does him in. Much like last time, the signature move is used on the second in command. This time being Joe's son, Rictus Erectus.
Okay, we found a winner. When it comes to names.
But this crash is more meaningful because it takes a noble sacrifice to pull off. But Joe's death is still more important because his body is used as a confirmation to the whole kingdom that his reign is over. When we finally see Joe's corpse stripped of all the doohickeys that made him look fearsome, the husk looks so sad and pathetic. You wonder why this thing was worshipped in the first place. And perhaps now the monarchy will be replaced with some democracy? Well, that's for the ladies to decide. So, even though we never got a real good look at the actual apocalypse part, we do see how humanity warped into something different. And it took 4 movies to show that transformation, even if the continuity is debatable. But despite getting bigger and badder with each film, you could argue how repetitive the movies are in the villain department. Each one is a leader of an army that has access to a lot of vehicles. Each love a good chase scene, and each clearly have no business naming themselves. But notice how only one had a personal conflict with Max to be his true nemesis. The other 2 were enemies of someone else, and Max just happens to stumble into their conflict. But Toe Cutter failed to completely break Max, so Max needs those other 2. Because that little bit of humanity grew bigger and bigger with each defeat, pushing Max closer to becoming a full-on hero again. But then you have Auntie, who was definitely a direct nemesis of Max, just not as personal. This proves that we can still do something different along the way. And I hope George Miller keeps that in mind for the 5th movie, whenever he gets around to it. But that doesn't mean he can't continue the escalation of how bonkers the villains get. Or maybe I'm speaking too soon. I guess I got my wish granted. I really did get to review a whole complete series.
Okay then. Will you do the honors? One last time.
No.
Well, why not?
Have you not realized that this mini-series has taken so long that one of the franchises you've covered has already gotten another installment?
Oh, I forgot about that. I guess we might as well cover it now.
Spoilers for the latest Pirates of the Caribbean activated.
It's just not the same as how he did it. I'm gonna miss him, wherever he is.
Look, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to lash out like that. It's just, this little thing has been reminding me of a little bit of a story, and it involves, me and Captain Logan. We were just young men back in the 70s, and we were, like many, disillusioned with the way this country was going, with Vietnam and Watergate, and the fact that Shields and Yarnell, 2 mimes, got a TV show. A primetime TV show! They're mimes! Well, we just didn't know what was going on with this country. We didn't recognize it anymore. So, we just, we quit our jobs at the pet rock store, and we let our hair grow, and we bought, denim vests, and we sold our shares to this stupid movie they were making called Blue Harvest, and we bought some motorcycles, and we just rode this great country of ours, all up and down the East Coast, West Coast, all over. And, well, to make a long story short, it's why Logan had to adopt Eric.
It's funny that I brought up how Star Wars and the Muppets both spiritually remade their first film, but the proper amount of time had passed to permeate in pop culture. It made sense to yearn for a modernization of the old while at the same time still getting something new. It makes a lot less sense when the first film was not that long ago. But this is what they went for with Dead Men Tell No Tales. Now I wouldn't have minded them pulling a Force Awakens on us if they had just waited till 2041. But it is nice to know we have a better movie after Stranger Tides. The best difference between this and Black Pearl is, say it with me, the random celebrity cameo. No, I mean the villain, Captain Armando Salazar. Yes, it's another cursed crew. Yes, it's another CGI undead thing. And yes, it's another one who has history with Jack. But Salazar stands out because he is not a pirate. Okay, Cutler wasn't either, but he was a puppet master of the pirates. This guy not only hates pirates, he exterminates them. His whole Navy crew was dedicated to purging the seas of all pirates, but the only ship that survived his wrath was the one that happened to have 21 Jump Street era Jack Sparrow. This is the first time we ever get to actually see the history between Jack and a villain. Not only that, but it's the most important moment when Jack first became a captain and got nicknamed after a bird, because Hollywood loves to give everything an intricate explanation. So we should be lucky this was just a flashback and not the whole movie. So it's very appropriate that Jack gets a villain associated with his origin right when he feels he's at his end, when in reality, it's someone else's end. Now, the washed-up Jack has accidentally freed the ghosts of the soldiers he killed, but in order for the crew to be fully resurrected, they require MacGuffin number 5000, Poseidon's Trident. See, Arthur? That's how many points it should have. Without the trident, they remain forever trapped in the exact condition they were in when they died, which is why they always look like they're submerged underwater, despite walking on land. It's a stark contrast between the elegant, sophisticated gentleman that Salazar once was, to the slobbering, rage-fueled animal he devolves into. Ironically lower than the pirates he looked down on. So much like the first film, the crew manages to regain their life only to immediately die. And another repeat is that Hector Barbosa kicks the bucket too. But this time, it's a noble death after getting to know him better and discovering a big revelation about his past. Still, the irony wasn't as good as it was the first time. But if this decades-long rivalry with Jack is finally over, then the franchise should die with it. I mean, every single curse that these movies centered on have now been broken by this trident. So, shouldn't that signify the end? Well, apparently not. You just had to leave another post-credits cliffhanger. Wait a minute. Is that? No, it can't be. Is it? Oh my God! Yes, yes, yes! He's coming back! I thought I'd never live to see the day, but here we go! Davy Jones is back! I knew it! I knew there would be a better way for him to go out, and now we have the chance! Thank you, Pirate 6! Thank you! I mean, it would have been nice to get some new mythology, but if there's any other way to get me back on board, this is it.
So, in regards to the placement of Salazar, I put him at number 3, between Cutler at number 4, and Davy Jones at number 2. Okay, now will you rank the villains of this episode, please?
Lord Humungous, Immortan Joe, Toe Cutter, Auntie Entity.
Well, I guess that's it then. We're done. That's it. I mean, I thought we were gonna get 6 episodes, but I had to mess everything up, so just 5.
Unless there were some kind of unexpected twist.
But that's the thing, Mr. Goodbot. There is no twist. There is only an ending.
Why?
Did you really think I would just let you go off and become the antagonist? There can be only one. But don't worry, you still have a role. You still have a role.
Behold, I, Mr. Goodplot, brought to you by a Canadian TV show company, Teletoons. And one of the original products is the subject of today's review. Toto drama! Toto drama! Toto drama! Toto drama! Toto drama! Toto drama! Toto drama!